What is important is to manage the links. That's what is really, really important in terms of consistency. Because social media is very, very complex. It's already more fragmented than OTAs. When we do things, we want to make sure that we go with the relationship. And it's not the numbers which are going to make the difference, but the strength of the link.
Is going to provide, I think, the customers who are looking for that interaction with a very uneven experience. I want the interaction from the experiences in those 350 places, but I'd like to funnel them into one place or 4 places if it's the brands.
So what's stopping us? In the hotel industry, how can we build up a relationship with customers using this channel if we don't devote the resources and the time and the money and the training? My personal opinion, and this is based on nothing but opinion, is we're afraid. Just like we're afraid of so many other developments. We don't know how it's going to work out, so we're unwilling to take risk. Yes, there is an implication, but if you don't experiment, how are you going to figure out what's work? You're always going to be a follower rather than a leader.
Geoffray did a survey last year on social media usage, and the number one concern from the hoteliers was trying to work out the return on their investment. So, I mean, Peter, you just mentioned, is it a money thing? Is that what's holding people back? People don't understand what they're getting for their buck?
We're not actually looking at ROI on this. I mean, we don't look at an ROI on our other customer feedback. No, I think for us, I spoke about a reach strategy. It is very much the fight for brand awareness. It is the battle to secure a place in the consumer's mind among all the other brands that consumers hold in their heads. To build that brand awareness with the customer and to hopefully develop a cadre of passionate advocates for the brand.
You have to first establish what is the objective you want to reach, whether it's social media or whatever you want to do, and then you can look at the investment you may need in order to reach this objective. But without setting an objective, a clear one, about what you want to achieve, whether you're on blogging, whether you're Facebooking, whether you're Twittering, whether you're analyzing TripAdvisor or any review channel, is to say, what do I want as a hotel or as a brand? Then that enables you then to map out a route of how to do this and then to measure it. Like saying, the analytics available to you today, which are very simple, I think then it is measurable to say within 6 months or within a year, these are the mentions we had in this country, these are the features where we've been featured, these are the reviews that we're now getting, and at the end of the day, this is a source of business coming in from this region, which correlates to other activities you're doing. So I think, I get asked as well all this, what's the ROI in this? Well, one of them could be direct bookings. Because hoteliers are still rather stupid in the sense that they propagate online travel agents on their own websites. What's that about? I'm, as a consumer, find you, and then you tell me to go and book through somebody else. Which other industry, does Apple do this? Do they tell you to go down to the electrical shop? No. So why do hoteliers do this? But this is also part of your ROI. You need to really analyze, okay, what do I want? And at the end of the day, what you all want is more business. But you also need to look at that channel of business, where it's coming from, and then look at the investment, and then look at the ROI that you need to put into it. And I think that's a very important thing, which is generally overlooked. And it's true that a lot of hotels spend a lot of money on their websites, but they don't have a blog. So websites for hoteliers are stagnant, which is another industry disease, which I think is even bigger than apathy for social media. Is they do a website and they think, that's it for 5 years. It doesn't work like that. It's a continual thing. Your blog is the content. If you don't have a blog, your website's dead. It's static. It never changes. And this is another thing of the ROI. So I think, yes, it's a very complex subject if you allow it to be, but it's also a very simple one. It's communication. And that's all it's about.
I think it's impossible to look 5 years out. I think it's even impossible to look a year out. The thing that intrigues me most at the moment, I think there's 2 things. One is the whole area of Facebook Places. It really hasn't caught on here in Europe as yet, but it either really intrigues people or it scares the living daylights out of them. I think that's one thing that we've got to figure out how to leverage. There are very few hotel companies doing anything there right now. The other one is when Google decides to get more involved in this area. I think it's coming. What they're going to do, we don't know, but I think, like everything Google does, I think they're going to have a big, big effect.
It's going to be immediate. The interactions, the things that are currently happening in bars, is going to happen on what is the core of our business, which is our rooms. And this is, for me, where it's striking how we will manage very, very quickly to put things together. Unless I think we'll have a problem, because we might have good interactions, but if we don't transcribe them immediately into bookings, then we will miss out big time. And the second one is all about, and this is more for the luxury part, it's all about the concierge and in terms of organization, because our industry is very, very rich in terms of heritage and history, and the clay door and everything. But tomorrow, with my friends being able to advise me in something in Sydney, and the person in front of me, there is going to be a change in the way we deliver the information and in the way we will interact with our guests. So definitely, I would figure that in 5 years' time, our lobbies will be very, very different from now.
I think one thing that's going to happen is reviews. Text-based reviews are going to continue to get shorter and shorter. I think this is one thing that's going to have a big impact and we need to be aware of. I think that Facebook, that while today, in general, my opinion is that the impact is on brand and very, very low related to transaction. I think that's another thing that's going to change drastically. I mean, I know of a number of projects and products that are in development related to booking engines in Facebook. So I think 6 months or a year from now, I think there's going to be a radical change in the importance of Facebook when it comes to the transaction. Location-based products like Foursquare that I think today are little more than a game, and still very, very little influence in terms of reviews. I anticipate that they're going to evolve, and Foursquare is going to be much more more than just checking in, but giving your opinion. So I think these are things that we're going to have to worry about.
Certainly, Facebook Places, which is today, let me see, Germany, UK, France, and Spain, I think, are the only markets in Europe that are open yet. And we're looking at that. I think phenomenon like Groupon are going to be interesting to watch. It's a little messy right now. It's not exactly the highest quality marketplace, but it's interesting to see what kind of traction it's going to get and what that means. So essentially, you know, if you have a social environment, how do you aggregate people of common interest? Location services, I think they're going to be important. I think that applications like All Around Me, and of course, we already mentioned Google Places, is going to be interesting on how customers use that to make their business choices.
I think the biggest thing is going to be the involvement of me and my empowerment that I will have to filter information. So I think I'm going to channel my information. I think I'm going to use a lot of mind-sweeping technology to help me edit my life, because we're already in overload with information. We need solutions to enable me to live my life beyond cookies and cookie technology, but somebody to filter. So it could be the role of a concierge in the future, live concierge, electronic ones, that will filter the information that I want to read. And I think the edit of me, along with civil responsibility and accountability, will be key in the next 5 years, but also transparency. You know, it's going to get fluorescent, in fact, and I think every brand and every product and every person will be known about to anybody.
What are the implications of harnessing social media and the benefit of using this sort of approach?
I'm absolutely convinced that in order for a hotel, particularly a hotel property, to be able to leverage social media, they need to use a tool. Really, you have to look at the particular situation. For me, the key issue, and this is something I've said to RJ before, so it's no secret, the key issue is the portfolio of channels and systems that the tool monitors. So social media is very, very complex. It's become highly fragmented. When you start looking at review sites and you start looking at an OTA, an online travel agent like Expedia, You have Expedia.com, but you have Expedia.fr, .de, .co.uk with different databases for sometimes different languages, sometimes different countries. Some systems are not very good at aggregating all of these different databases together, so you get an incomplete picture of the actual situation. So when you're looking at one of these tools, you have to look at where your markets are, who your markets are, and then match the tool to the actual systems serving those markets.
I was very impressed by the diversity of the panel. It's very interesting, different points of view, particularly with social media, between my interests and my beliefs on social media to those of the bigger brands and the constraints that the bigger brands have. So I think it was an interesting dialogue. It's obvious to me that many people are afraid of social media, so I think these events help break the ice. They don't necessarily offer solutions, but I think it encourages people to take the risk, get out there, start communicating and start being part of the social media world and channel.
J'étais arrivé avec une certaine vision, je sors avec une vision renforcée sur le fait que c'est un vrai challenge de pouvoir à la fois concilier une proximité au quotidien avec nos clients qui est humaine et puis réussir à engager une relation qui est plus virtuelle mais qui je pense deviendra de plus en plus proche en termes de relation et vraiment notre challenge technologique c'est de réussir à faire que les deux fusionnent avec le plus de puissance possible et un vrai discours de marque.
It was very comforting to see that we're not that behind and learning from others is always a good thing.
I think the main idea that I've got out of this meeting is that well, social media is here to stay, but that it's only one part of a hotel's marketing strategy, and that more and more it's something that needs to be managed in conjunction with the other sales and marketing activities, and it's just one part of an overall strategy.
The technology is constantly changing, and it's really important to have different input from different users, from different providers to understand what the options are on the market today, and it's really important to have these opportunities.
Social media is nothing new. It's just another platform, another channel. It's nothing to be afraid of. I think it needs to be embraced. I think the hospitality industry in particular has a great opportunity because it is a living industry. It is continually changing. It's a people industry, and people are parts of communities. I think the hotels just need to be part of their community, learn to dialogue with this and use this as a platform for social media and get out there and start talking.
Il est vrai que pour le social media, qui est quand même un nouveau territoire de développement, tout ce qui permet d'échanger avec différents partenaires, que ce soit d'autres personnes de l'hôtellerie ou des consultants, c'est toujours très enrichissant parce qu'on est en pleine recherche de solutions, donc c'est vraiment très très intéressant.
What was interesting tonight is the audience seemed to want more of consumer relationship with a brand and more the relationship aspect and the emotion than just a communication platform.